We're talking today about speaking up and keeping quiet. And you may have found that you prefer one or the other. Maybe you find that you've got a lot to say and you enjoy saying it. Or maybe you find you prefer to not say much. Or you may find that you speak up more in certain contexts more than others. Some kids are the ones always raising their hands in school. Some kids prefer to just keep it quiet. But on a sports field, that swaps. And maybe in a similar way, in a professional setting, maybe you speak up, or maybe you're quiet. Or in a social setting, maybe you're the life of the party, or maybe you're the one hanging back and mostly enjoying listening. Regardless of where you find yourself, all of us, if we're trying to follow the Lord, will have some work to do in this area. All of us will have to learn to speak up in certain circumstances, even if we'd rather not. And all of us will have to learn to keep quiet in certain circumstances, even when we'd really rather say something. One of the early followers of the Lord, the Apostle James, wrote in a letter, "If anyone among you thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this one's religion is useless." So that's what we're working on today, bridling our tongue, getting our tongue under control. Understanding when to tell our tongue, giddy up, come on, do something, and when to tell our tongue, whoa, buddy, just slow down. That's part of being religious in a genuine way, is getting control over our tongue, letting the Lord be in charge of what we say and what we don't say. And this brings us to the intriguing thing we're going to be studying and pondering today in the Lord's Word. We might think that the Lord would always want his followers to speak up when talking about him, talking about all the things that they've done, the Lord's done for them. But this is what's so confusing and intriguing and interesting, is there are lots of examples where the Lord healed someone or showed them something amazing and then tells them, don't tell anyone. But other times, the Lord did tell people to share the good news. So today we're going to try to understand a little bit of why the Lord may have done this. And as you can probably imagine, there are lots of theories out there about this. And spoiler alert, there's no definitive answer. The teachings for the new church do not, as far as I'm aware, directly speak to this question. And so we're left to speculate. And even if they did speak to it directly, it seems unlikely that there would be one reason for the Lord's behavior. There are always many factors that come into play. And so we'll be looking at just a few threads of this discussion. This is not the comprehensive discussion of the Messianic secret. We'll look at two stories from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5. One story in which the Lord tells the person to spread the good news, and the other in which the Lord tells the people around the person who was healed to not tell anyone. And when today's service is over, you might like to read the whole 5th chapter of Mark to yourself and see which story or which part of the story most resonates with you where you're at today. There's actually another healing story in the middle of the chapter that we're not going to talk about at all, but it's really interesting and has another kind of interaction with a person. So after the service, while the postlude's playing, you can grab that Bible in the pew in front of you. It's not just for show. You can open to Mark 5 and read the whole chapter as you listen to the postlude music. Or you can read it when you go home. But the point is to be reflecting on the Lord's Word and thinking, what is the Lord trying to say to me about speaking up and being quiet? One of the things you can keep in mind as we go through these stories, though, is what the Lord's goal is for the people in the stories and what the Lord's goal is for us. This was well expressed in our reading from Divine Providence. If the Lord just cared about our intellect and our thoughts, he could do all sorts of things to fix that. Scare us to death, give us chances to talk with dead people, miracles, all sorts of stuff. Our minds would be changed. But he cares about something much deeper, our wills, our hearts. And to heal those is much more difficult. Doing what will best serve people's hearts is his priority in the stories and also in your life. So the first story in chapter 5 of Mark is of a demon-possessed man having a legion of demons cast out of him. And we'll read just the beginning of this story. And when Jesus had come out of the ship, straightway there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling in the tombs, and no one could bind him with chains, since he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the fetters had been broken apart, and no one had the strength to tame him. And continually, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. It's a very sad picture, and it's a picture of some aspect of our lives that's totally out of control. We've tried lots of sorts of things to get ourselves in control, to chain that up, to fetter it, and none of it's worked. And for today, we're going to skip over the whole story of how the Lord heals the man, how he casts out those legion of demons. Read it later, it's great. And we're going to fast forward to the end. So the Lord has cast out the demons, and the man, of course, begs to come with the Lord in the boat. He wants to be a follower of Jesus. And Jesus says, no, you can't come with me. And says, instead, go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he has had compassion on you. So this is one of those examples where the Lord heals someone and then tells them to go tell other people. And the man does. He proclaims this news all around the whole region of Decapolis. And later in the story, when Jesus comes back, people are ready to receive him. And so we'll look at this story and its relevance for our lives in two ways. First, sharing the good news within ourselves, and then sharing the good news with other people. The man who had all the demons cast out of him ended up spreading the news all around to other people. But it's interesting to look carefully at what the Lord actually told him to do. He literally told him, go to your house and to your own. Yes, he was supposed to spread the good news, but starting at his own house. Listen to this passage from the Teachings for the New Church about the meaning of a house. A person may be compared to a house with a large number of rooms leading one into the next. People who have truths solely in their understanding are not in any room in the house, but merely in the court outside. But truth, which has also been made part of the will and becomes good, is compared to a room that is lived in and to the actual bedchamber. The Lord was telling the man to take the news inward, to internalize it, to take it to heart, to really process the experience back in the context of normal life. When we have a profound spiritual experience, an aha moment, a feeling of being freed from something that has weighed on us for years, there's the desire to stay in that up experience, that peak pinnacle. Everything's great. I understand it all. It's all going to be good. Like that man begging to be with the Lord. Can I just stay with you in this state forever? But if that experience is going to have some sort of long-term effect in our lives, then we need to go back to normal life and think about what the Lord has done for us in that context. Back to your normal thoughts, back to your normal life, and how does that change life at home? We need to be like Mary in the Christmas story. When Jesus was born, the angels came and told the shepherds to go find the baby in the manger. And after they did that, it says, the shepherds made widely known the saying which was told them concerning this child. And all those who heard it marveled at those things which were told them by the shepherds. But Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. The Greek word for kept means literally to guard together. And the Greek word for ponder means literally to throw things together. So Mary guarded things together and really turned them over within herself, and not in her head. She kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. Now, it might be that you feel like you don't really have anything to ponder. You don't have any dramatic story of the last Lord casting demons out of you. So what are you supposed to ponder? What are you supposed to share? Well, that's fine. We don't all have dramatic, life-altering experiences all the time. Sometimes the miracles the Lord's doing in our lives are much more subtle. And if you're struggling to see the Lord working in your life, then that's all the more reason to spend some time going inward and pondering. Where has the Lord been present in my life this week? How has He helped me not hurt people this week? How has He helped me not hurt myself this week? How would I like the Lord to be present in my life in a different way this week? So that's some of the sharing the news inwardly. Now let's talk about sharing the good news with other people. When we've first done that work to take our experience to heart, then we are more ready to share those experiences with other people. When something has first happened and we haven't had much time to process it, there can be a lot of story to what we have to say. And sometimes a lot of focus on ourselves is woven into that story. But when we've done the work to get to the heart of the matter, we will be connected with humility and with gratitude to the Lord and a clearer sense of how much we need the Lord and can't do it on our own. That's a much cleaner place from which to share the story of what's happened to us than when we're still caught up in, ooh, look what I did. When we've gotten to the heart of the matter, it will help us share our story in a way that emphasizes what matters, the heart of the matter, and it doesn't have to include details of other people's lives that might be distracting. It can really be the key thing. A clear part of what the man was told to do by the Lord was to share what the Lord had done for him. And this is a distinction, is the people who are told to share the good news are often people who've had something significant healed for them. Demons cast out, something internal being healed. And so the Lord said, tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how He has had compassion on you. If the only stories you know about the Lord helping other people are about what the Lord has done for other people, then something's missing. What is your first-hand experience of the Lord? What has the Lord done for you? How has He had compassion on you? Start by figuring that out within yourself, and then you'll be in a better place to share that good news with other people. Now let's turn to the story of the little girl being raised from the dead. The girl's father, Jairus, was an important person, a ruler of the synagogue, a leader of the Jewish people who would have known the Word of God very well. And yet, in spite of that, his precious daughter was dying. So here we have a picture of all the external trappings of a pious life, of religious belief and knowledge, with a dying heart. Little girls in the Word are symbolic of pure affections, the innocent part of us that wants to just learn from the Lord and do what He says. And sometimes as we get older, we might remember a feeling of trust and innocence in a vague sort of way, but it can seem to be dying off. As we are acquainted with the ways of the world, what's happening to that innocent part of me that just believed? And then in the story, along comes this revolutionary man named Jesus, who's done all sorts of other amazing things. And again, there are lots of great details in the story that we could get into sometime, but for today, we're just going to jump to the end. After Jesus has put everyone out of the house except for Peter, James, and John, and the girl's father and mother, He goes into that inner room, takes the girl by the hand, and tells her to arise, and immediately she does. And then it says, and Jesus ordered them insistently that no one should know this, and He said that something should be given her to eat. So here we have an example of the Lord telling people, don't tell anyone. But He just raised a girl from the dead. Don't tell anyone. When we think about Jairus' important position in society and the crowd that was a big part of the story, then Jesus' command starts to make more sense. When Jesus is on His way to heal Jairus' daughter, people say, your daughter's dead, why trouble the teacher any further? That happens within us too. Thoughts that say, give up. The Lord can't help. Stop bothering him. And when he gets to the house, it's full of people weeping and shouting, making a huge noise about how tragic it is that the girl has died. But then they don't have any belief that the Lord can help. They laugh at him. This is the jaded, cynical stuff within us that would rather wallow in how bad things are and laugh at the possibility of change. And this crowd was going to be around Jairus his whole life. And it could make it difficult for him to figure out what he believed for himself and make it difficult for him to articulate it to other people. And so the Lord says, tell no one, ignore the crowd for now. Feed your daughter. Feed that innocent desire to follow the Lord in the inner room of your mind. Don't get distracted by the commotion outside. Focus on what's inside your heart. And we can feel the wisdom in the Lord's guidance here if we imagine what would have happened if Jairus had not followed the Lord's instructions. Imagine if he had immediately gone out to the crowd and made a big speech. I went and I called Jesus of Nazareth to come to my house. I begged him to save my dear daughter. On the way, some people came to me and told me it was no use, but I trusted. Other people laughed at the idea that she might be healed, but I still believed. And look now, my daughter is alive and well. Come, daughter, walk before them, let them see. Gross, right? Ugh, you ruined it. Do you see how this amazing miracle could be externalized and the whole point of it lost? Do you see how it could turn from being about caring for Jairus' daughter into caring for Jairus' reputation? That's the temptation here. That's the potential problem here, is that we can take something the Lord's done for us and cash in on it in a gross way. Let's not do that. As it says in Lamentations, it is good that a man should both hope and be still for the salvation of Jehovah. Ignore the crowd outside. Feed your daughter. Years ago, another minister shared his experience with this topic with me, and his personal testimony has really helped me. And here's the gist of what he said. He said, sometimes when the Lord has done something wonderful for me, I hear him saying, don't tell anyone. When something wonderful has happened, I often notice a mix of things in the after state. In that mix, there's a sense of selfish pride and merit. The hells never miss an opportunity to inject that. And if I tell others from that, I mess up. If I tell them with a use for them in mind, and from a genuine sense of humility and gratitude, that's okay. So I think that's an example of the kind of discernment we're aiming for. The ability to recognize when the Lord is counseling us to speak up and when he's cautioning us to not tell anyone. In small group programs, if they're being done properly, like in Rise Above It, you're encouraged to share your experience with other people, and you're also always given the option to pass. And we should all probably make use of both of those options, in small groups and in life in general. Times when we share our experience and times when we pass. There seems to be wisdom in both of those things. So these are just two stories from the Lord's Word about this. There are lots more stories in the Gospels in which the Lord tells people to share the good news or tells them not to, and it's all interesting, and reading and pondering all those stories together and people's theories about it is all intriguing and complex and important and fun. For today, though, lest we get stuck just in our intellect, you might focus instead on connecting with what the Lord has done for you and inviting the Lord into your heart and thinking about how the Lord might be in charge of when you speak and when you stay silent. We can pray using words from the Lamentations and words from the Psalms. Let us search our ways and search them out and turn back to Jehovah. Let us lift up our heart with our hands unto God in the heavens. Set a guard, O Jehovah, over my mouth. Keep watch over the doors of my lips. Amen.